Hi, boys and girls. I'm going to read from Ruby Holler today. Again, Olivia is going crazy, so if you hear her bouncing around in her activity center, that's why. So just to review, we've read 12 chapters so far, and there are two important things that I want you to remember from the last readings. Okay, the first one, how Florida felt. That she would never be a part of a real family was when the Hoppers returned her. Okay, so you're going to want to remember that. When did she think that she was never going to be in a real loving family? It was when the Hoppers returned her and her brother back to the orphanage. And then I forgot to mention this one in the last reading, but when they got to Ruby Holler, Florida was very, very surprised when Tiller offered something to her. I want you to think about what Tiller offered Florida when they went outside and were looking at the old canoe. Okay. Now, Tiller offered her $5 an hour for the work that she would do on fixing that boat up. At first, she was thinking like a nickel or 40 cents. And so when Tiller offered her $5 an hour, she was very surprised at that and was happy. And she said, "Oh, I'll be out here day and night working on this boat." And so she thought that was a good idea for her to earn money so her and her brother could hop on that freight train as soon as possible. So we'll see if that happens. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start reading. Chapter 13. When Tiller had paid Florida $20 for the first afternoon's work, she rushed up to the loft to show Dallas. "We could leave now," she said. "Tonight." Dallas reached under his mattress and held out another $20. "Look at this. I got paid too. It's a bundle. We're rich." Now, are they really rich if each of them only have $20? How much money do they have if she has 20 and he has 20? So it's 20 plus 20. It's only 40. Okay. He laid out all the money on the bed, smoothing the bills. You still think they're a couple crazy people to give away this kind of money?" she said. "To a couple of kids? Yeah, they're definitely crazy," she said. Dallas stared at the money, smoothing it and rearranging it and holding it up to the light. He thought of the food, all the food he might buy. Delicious food, sweet food, juicy and fresh food, not the bland, tasteless meals that were always at Boxton Creek home. "So, are we leaving tonight?" Florida said. "Are we really catching that night train?" From down below, Sari called, "Dallas! Florida!" "Is that chicken I smell?" Dallas asked. Florida leaned over the railing. "Yep, and dumplings too." "I've been thinking," Dallas said, "if we got this much in one day, think of how much we'd get in 2 days. You think we ought to stay one more day?" Florida watched Sari down below. "Homemade dumplings, Dallas?" Florida slipped her money under the mattress. "I don't see where another day with these crazy people would hurt too much." "Yeah," Dallas said. "What's another day going to hurt? We've been waiting on that freight train for 13 years. Huh. After dinner, Tiller was grumpy. That old bucket. Wish we had some plumbing." "I like that old well," Dallas said. "Want me to get the water?" "Show me how." "Outside," Tiller said. "Nothing much to it. Just hook this here rope to the handle, careful like, and then you lower it down." Dallas leaned over the well and peered down. "Kind of scary black down there," he said. He looped the rope to the bucket handle and tossed the bucket over the edge. "Wait!" Tiller said. But it was too late, and the bucket had come loose from the rope, and they heard it splosh in the water below. "Bucket jumped off the rope," Dallas said. "Got another bucket?" "On the porch," Tiller said. "But we're going to have to figure out how to get that other bucket out. Don't want it rotting in the water." He was weary. "I'm too old to be teaching kids how to do stuff," he thought to himself. "I did this all before with my own kids." "Never mind," he told Dallas. "I'll do it myself." "Well, what about that wood?" Dallas said. "You could show me how to chop it. I'd like to use that axe. It'd be just like Paul Bunyan." Tiller had an image of Dallas wildly swinging the axe, maybe even chopping off his foot. Maybe tomorrow," Tiller said. "How about a lantern then?" Want to show me how to light that thing? It's so cool that you don't have real lights and stuff. It's like pioneers." Tiller envisioned Dallas knocking over the lantern, setting the whole cabin on fire. Maybe tomorrow, Tiller said. Uh-huh, Dallas mumbled, as if he didn't even really believe Tiller. Dallas kicked at a rock near his feet, and then he turned and ran toward the creek. Sari stepped off the porch. "Tiller, what are you doing? That boy just wants to learn how to do stuff. What's the matter with you lately?" "I don't know," Tiller said. I'm feeling a little grummy. I want those kids to leave here and for us to get back to our own lives. And why don't you just come with me on the river, and then I can go with you in search of that bird thing in Kangadoon." Sari placed her hand on Tiller's shoulder. "Now look here, Mr. Grumpy Pants. I don't really have any desire to paddle my arm off down a river, and I know you don't have any desire whatsoever to go searching for a bird. Admit it. And I know it's not easy for you, suddenly having kids in the house again and all that, but I think we ought to give it a few more days, see how things work out. Now go inside and eat some cake and quit being so grumpy." She patted his cheek. "And maybe you'd better give some of that cake to Florida, too." The next morning, in the barn, Tiller said, "Florida, you have a way with wood." I said, "A bad way, right?" Florida asked. "I mucked it up, didn't I?" "No," he said. "I meant that you seem to have a certain way about how you want to do that trim. It's not how I do it, but I knew it. I knew you wouldn't like it. I knew it was silly of me." "It's not silly. It's just different." He had to strain himself from redoing the parts she'd had already done. She hammered nails so hard the wood was dented and bashed in. The varnish dripped in globs down the side. "I I got up that first piece, though," Florida said. "Remember?" "Mm-hmm," Tiller said. "Hey, and what about that can of varnish?" she said. That one I spilled. I don't think any master goes around spilling goop and then stepping in it and then getting it in her hair and then—" Tiller interrupted her. "You know what I did once? My dad told me to paint the barn red paint, very bright red paint. And this old mangy cat kept crawling around my legs, getting in my way. So I just dabbed a little red paint on its ears. And then it went crazy. And it scratched my arm up one side and down the other. And then I dipped that paintbrush back in the paint, and I flung a whole glop of it at that cat. But the cat got out of the way. And instead, I splattered the chicken. And the chicken came after me, pecking and pecking. And I dipped my brush back in, and I went after the chicken. But the chicken got away, and instead, I hit the pig. And then, well, you get the picture. Pretty soon, the whole barnyard and all the animals were splattered with red paint." And my pa came out wanting to know what in the world was going on. And I bet you got a hiding, Florida said. "I bet you got whooped up one side and down the other." "Well, no, actually," Tiller said. "That wasn't my pa's way." "It wasn't? You mean you didn't get in trouble and throw you down in a spidery cellar?" "Nope. What he did was sit there on the fence with a piece of straw in his mouth. And he said, 'I seen a red cat running through the yard. Did you see that?' 'Yes, sir,' I said. 'And I seen a red chicken and a red pig. You see that?' 'Yes, sir,' I said. 'Now, what are we going to do about a red cat and a red chicken and a red pet pig?' my father asked. And so I had to explain to him how I was going to get rid of that red paint, and then I had to do it. Took me took me near 2 weeks to get all that red paint out of those animals." "But you didn't get a whooping?" Florida asked. "No." Tiller was surprised that he rambled on telling Florida about this long forgotten red paint incident. He felt as if the girl had tricked him somehow. How was she doing that? How was she getting him to tell stories? Florida looked around the barn and out through its wide open doors at the far end, toward the arch of tall leafy trees. "You lived here since you were born?" she asked. "Merely," Tiller said. "I was born on a boat." "On a boat? What happened? Your mama get thrown out of the house and was running away and she stole a boat and—" No. My parents lived on a boat. A little houseboat. Lived there until I was about 7. Then we found this place. This land, I mean. We built that cabin and this here barn. There she goes again, Tiller thought to himself, tricking me into telling me more about my old stuff. And your own kids grew up here too? Florida asked. Yep. Then why did they leave? Tiller shrugged. Meh, got married, got jobs in the big city, moved away. He put his hand to his chest, surprised by the sudden sadness he felt. It was as if there were a big empty well inside where his children used to be. Florida smoothed her hand over the piece of trim she'd been working on. You didn't whoop them either, did you? Nope. Well, they must be crazy, Florida said. To leave a place like this, where they could be outside all day and they could run all they wanted and they could shout and be crazy and stuff. Tiller put down his brush and went to the open barn doors and gazed out across the holler. He tried to picture it as Florida was seeing it, and as his own children had seen it, and as he had seen it as a child too. On the back porch, Sari, reading through the list of equipment Dallas had made. I believe you thought of everything, Dallas, she'd say. You've got some real good ideas here, things I wouldn't have thought of. You're kidding, right? He'd ask. In school, Dallas sat in the back. The children in the front had ideas. If Dallas had to do a report, the teacher would say, Here, John will help you get an idea. Or, That's not what I meant. Let Bonnie show you how to do it. Or, if you can't do the assignment, just sit here quietly. And do you think that that's what a good teacher should be doing? Probably not. I hope I don't do that to you guys. Dallas didn't have parents to come in and look at his work on conference days, or anyone to worry over his report card, so it hadn't never mattered much to him whether he did the work or not. He daydreamed at school, imagining quiet places in the woods, or how cookies were made, or how trees grew. He didn't know that these things in his head were all ideas, but here on the porch in Ruby Holler, Sari was saying, No, I'm not kidding. You've got some interesting ideas. I'm not sure we really need a skateboard, and we might want to add a few things, of course, like maybe sleeping bags and little things like that. She retrieved a book from a stack by the window. I want to show you the best thing. Now, this is what we're going to find in Kangadoon. This is the red-tailed rocking bird. She opened the book and held it before him. Uh-huh, Dallas said, but a flutter in the trees distracted him. Whoa, he said. Did you see that bright blue bird? Dallas, that's just an old blue jay. Well, it's a mighty incredible blue jay. It is, Sari said, following his gaze. Dallas made a deep well in his mashed potatoes and ladled in the smooth caramel colored gravy. You sure do make some good gravy, man. He said, no lumps or anything. And it doesn't taste like possum feet either, Florida added. Ew, Tiller said. That's a compliment, I think, Sari said. In the loft later that night, Dallas and Florida added 2 sweet rolls and 2 apples to their stash beneath a loosened floorboard. I don't get hungry in the night here, Dallas said. Do you? No, but just in case. Dallas counted his money again. If we got this much money in a week, think how much we'd get in 2 weeks. A bundle, Florida said. We're going to be gazillionaires. What do you think gazillionaires do with all their money? Oh, I don't know, Florida said. They probably buy lots and lots and lots and lots of food. That following night, at dinner, as Tiller passed him a bowl of spaghetti, Dallas said, You two sure go to a lot of trouble for cooking. Trouble, Tiller said. No, we like to cook. One person's trouble is another person's joy. That's what Tiller's mom used to say, Sari added. Besides, we don't get to cook that much now that our kids are gone. How many kids did you have? Dallas asked. 4, Tiller said lightly, tapping his chest as he named them. Buddy, Lucy, Charlie, and Rose. Do you miss them? Florida asked. Used to be we missed them every single day, every single minute, Sari said. We couldn't figure out how to fill up our time. Sometimes even. Now it feels kind of empty here in the holler. Terry stared at his wife. She feels that way too. He cleared his throat. But we got used to it, I guess. How'd you get used to it? Dallas asked. Tiller twirled his spaghetti. Well, first off, we made ourselves some getting over kids stew. Special recipe. Yeah, right, Florida said. There isn't really stew that makes you get over missing your kids. You've got some pretty amazing secret recipes, Sari said. We have Beat the Blues broccoli and anti-cranky crumpets and, hey, with us here now, Dallas said, maybe you ought to make yourself some getting used to kids again stew. Tiller reached for a meatball. What do you think we had last night for dinner? He said jokingly. All right. I'll go ahead and read chapter 14. Wood. A row of tiny wooden birds perched on the fireplace mantel, and a fleet of miniature boats rested on top of the bookcase. Florida leaned close to one of the boats. People can't touch these, right? She said to Dallas. I bet if people touched these wee little boats, they probably got their hands smacked. Dallas was nose to beak with one of the birds. People maybe could touch them a little bit, he said. They'd probably get shot if they touched these things, Florida said. Now, you think that's really what would happen? No, I don't think so. No, we know that Dallas kind of thinks the best of things, and Florida always thinks the worst of things. And she kind of exaggerates a little bit on what could actually happen. The screen door slammed against the frame as Sari entered the porch. Both Florida and Dallas jumped back, stuffing their hands in their pockets. Were you talking to me? Sari said. No, I wasn't talking to anybody but the air, Florida said nervously. Me either, Dallas said. Words were coming out of my mouth, but they weren't aimed at anybody in particular. I thought I heard you two talking about our birds and our boats, Sari said. Nah, Florida said. What birds? What boats? Sari slipped over towards the bookcase. These boats. She glided past the mantel. And these birds. Well, I'll be. Look at all those little birds and boats. Dallas, do you ever notice those before? Trying to play it off. No, I can't say I did, Dallas said. Even if I noticed them, I would never touch them. Florida said, people ought to know better than to touch wee little things like this. Oh, Sari said, lifting up one of the birds. They're not so fragile. They're made out of wood. Here. She handed one of the birds to Dallas and one to Florida. Golly, will you look at that? Dallas said. It's so smooth, and it's got little feathers carved in and little eyes. And mine's got wee feet and a wee pointy beak, Florida said. Sari returned to the bookcase. And these boats, they're pretty sturdy too, she said, passing one to each of them. This one's even got seats and oars, Dallas said. A little tiny elf person could row this boat on down the river. He tried to maneuver the oars. Oops. Oars came off. Oops. Seat got a little mushed. As Sari stared at the broken boat, Dallas took a big step backwards and raised his arms as if he was trying to shield himself. Sari moved toward him and gently moved over to his arm. It's okay, she said. Florida inched closer to Dallas. She was balancing a boat on her head and squeezing a bird in her hand. Snap! The bird's beak drifted to the floor. I didn't mean it, she shouted. I told you people shouldn't touch these things. Florida shoved the bird and the beak and the boat at Sari. Go ahead, punish us. We don't care. Punish? Sari said. I'm not a very good punisher. She shrugged and placed the broken bird back on the mantel. I break things sometimes, and when I do, I try and fix them. Well, we'll fix these later. She stood back regarding the mantel. We made these. Tiller made the boats, and I made the birds. All by yourself? With what? Dallas asked. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop here just because the timer is getting a little bit longer. So I will continue with chapter 14 next time. Have a good day, boys and girls. Bye.